Okay, well, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking around for the final presentation here. I hope that everyone had an opportunity to go to the booths and meet with our partners and learn more about their products. And I'm sure that they'll all be very excited to hear from you after the fact. So I think that likely in our agenda on our website, you can find all the contact information. If you have trouble finding that, of course, just reach out to us and we'll share that. Happy to make those connections. Really fantastic presentations throughout the day, I thought. Learned quite a bit. Very happy on the way the event came together. So what I'm going to try to do here is just kind of summarize a little bit about what we learned throughout the day and kind of think about the trends and make some predictions about how the estimating practice is evolving over time, and maybe what the estimating practice will look like in the next 10 years or so. So I have three kind of major points that I think are really interesting and that we need to kind of think about as an industry. One is the blending of silos. So I think traditionally, in the lump sum environment, the owner would hire the architect would produce the documentation, general contractors would receive the documentation, and then they would go set about to quantify and produce estimates, and then work in the silo, soliciting information from the trades and getting them involved in order to kind of pull together a price on what the project is when you go to execute the work. And that's obviously evolved a lot. I mean, we're seeing less and less lump sum work, mostly because the industry is getting more collaborative. Contracts are evolving. It's also because the complexity and the risk is evolving. So we've seen the emergence of P3 projects and design build finance model is over the past 10, 15, 20 years. Has really changed the industry and changed the way that we collaborate. We're seeing IPD, CM, and we're seeing alliance contracts really take hold. So I think that's really shaping the methodology and the ways that we collaborate and what's expected of us. So I think we're going to see this blending more and more where general contractors or whoever's leading these design build teams or partnering these alliance contracts, there's a real interchange of the design work and the estimating work, so that the models that you produce are built to produce information and output information for quantities, so that we can take advantage of this technology. And the goal here is to have tighter and more accurate estimating cycles. Traditionally, the architect, the engineers, they produce a set of drawings. It's given over to the estimating team to start to develop schedules, to pull off quantities, create the sequence of events, work out the logistics. And that cycle can be, in some cases, like 6 weeks in order to kind of turn around a schedule. And ideally, using technology, we can reduce that cycle to maybe 1 week or even real time if we connect the models to these estimating tools. And I really think that's the real, one of the big opportunities here is having real-time feedback on the design. So, and that creates this blended environment where the designers and the estimators are kind of working very tightly together and using technology to exchange information in real time and understand the impact of every single design change that is made throughout the process. So that tighter integration is definitely going to be evolving. And I think that we're going to see kind of feasibility studies being, and the cost impact of changes in the feasibility stage of projects also being real time. And as CanBIM, we're working on an event in the future focused on generative design for master planning for properties. And there's a whole bunch of technology that's emerging there. So check our website for that in the future. The other major, the major thing the second major point that I wanted to make is that estimating is kind of evolving from a cost center to a profit center. And I think that, you could argue this point, but I think that owners are, the main thing they go to general contractors for is to rationalize the project and put a price to the design, to kind of scope it out and say, this is what this design costs. And that's the expertise that the general contractor offers at those early stages. And often that early stage involvement is how a general contractor ultimately gets their foot in the door for a negotiated construction management agreement or other types of agreements that involve the work. So because that's the expertise that the owner's looking for, estimating is ultimately the tip of the spear. So your capability in this category is critical to winning new work. And it's very essential that the accuracy of your pricing at those early stages reflects the actual cost of work. And I think that, the estimating group, the estimating process is now becoming more of a service. And I think that the industry needs to kind of consider this as we go forward, because traditionally this estimating service is done, or this estimating process is done kind of pro bono, just to get their foot in the door to be involved with the project. And I think over time that we need to spend more time in that pre-construction stage. We need to spend a lot more time refining the project, going through iterations and pricing those iterations to work out the kinks of the project so that we can de-risk the project and ultimately enable offsite prefabrication or other advanced methodologies to actually construct the building. So I think the gestation stage of the project, the pre-construction stage of the project needs to expand. And I think that estimating needs to be perceived more as a service rather than an activity that is kind of bolted on to a future construction project. Because really we need to, as an industry, we need to focus more proactively. So estimating as a service, my second major point. And the third point, which kind of got brought up multiple times during the day today, was just the importance of data. The main thing that estimators do is they rely on their knowledge base, and they apply that knowledge to the work that they're looking at in that moment. So your historical information, your cost per square foot, the cost of the current cost of tonnage of steel, or whatever the case is, they're maintaining that information, often in kind of ad hoc ways. Often it's in multiple silos and in people's heads throughout the estimating department. So there's a lot of communication required there. And I think the big opportunity here is to utilize systems to marry up the actual cost of work and all the project accounting data with the estimating process, so that number one, you can backsite your estimates and understanding the current unit rates based on your actual work being done, and number two, you can maintain those unit rates going forward. And I think this really is driving a trend towards kind of away from traditional linear and square footage takeoffs towards more assembly-based takeoffs. And obviously 3D modeling is based around assemblies, families, blocks that you assemble like Lego pieces. So what I'm seeing is, the advanced artificial intelligence software, they all think around assemblies. The modeling software thinks around assemblies. Scheduling is starting to evolve to be around assemblies. And I think estimating, ultimately, we all need to move that direction and start to understand our costs as it relates to assembling these elements. And I think the future of construction is offsite prefab and modularization, and those are also assemblies. So I think there's a strong argument here to kind of think about your project, break it down using assemblies, and have a stronger emphasis on having a work breakdown structure that is unified across the design, the estimate, and the schedule. And I think that really is a future trend that we need to focus on. And I think the other kind of key point around sorry, my phone's ringing here. The other kind of key point that we need to focus on is the connection to the supply chain. So the supply chain is, obviously also broken down into elements and assemblies. And I think that, once we have a model that's built and connected to an estimate and a schedule, we can then connect that same nomenclature and that same work breakdown structure into our supply chain and start to procure elements of buildings versus pieces. So, in summary, I think, these major trends are being driven by, the highest level, the types of contracts that we engage, how we engage people, how we hire them. Ultimately, if we can make that more collaborative, we can explore and improve the ways that we work. And then, of course, this emerging technology, a lot of which we saw today, which enables a better way of working. So those are, in my mind, this is moving very quickly. I think that estimating, the practice of estimating, if you're relying on manual takeoff practices, if you're mostly focused, your work is mostly focused in Excel, you're likely going to fall behind over time. So I would encourage you to explore the products that were highlighted today, definitely, and think about ways of introducing automation into your practices and taking advantage of the 3D models that are available. So just some closing remarks generally for the event today. Number one, thank you so much to all of our speakers and event partners, especially our annual partners. We have a number of annual partners that help to make these events possible and keep them free for you. Upcoming events that definitely you should pay attention to. Go to our website and check it out. But September 14th, we have our executive summit on timber and the digital environment, which is focused on mass timber and prefabrication. Should be a really excellent event. October 21st, we have the industry summit focused on the innovation economy, which usually highlights a lot of different startups happening that are bringing innovative products to the market. October 27th, we have the Innovation Spotlight Awards. So as you know, as an organization, we have our annual awards program. There's like 10 categories. It's a really exciting day. Tons of great submissions coming in. Really looking forward to that on October 27th. November 9th is our prefab offsite and modularization event. And October 25th is the scheduled CanBIM AGM. And we're also planning a winter event on generative design at the pre-construction stage, which kind of ties into this group around estimating. So certainly go check out our website and please subscribe, link, like, follow, and tell a friend. We'd love to have more people come to these events. And thank you so much to everybody, and have a great evening.